Today on the MrMaple Show podcast, Tim and Matt count down the top 25 rare plants of 2025 Customer's Choice.
Hey y'all, and welcome to the MrMaple Show. Today we're bringing you our top 25 rare plants sold at Mr. Maple in 2025. So get excited, y'all.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the MrMaple Show podcast. I'm hanging out with my buddy Tim today. We're always just trying to find some cool plants to talk about, and we got so many here at the farm. I mean, it's crazy out there this time of the year. You know, it's fall here in the mountains, and all of our maples are looking beautiful out there, but there's so many other plants, too, that have such a great potential to add some characteristic to your garden, some flowering interest, all kinds of different aspects of gardening that we like to try to bring to your landscape, and this is a great list of plants to kind of go over for you.
Now, guys, Brian's so right. We got so many cool plants at Mr. Maple. If you go to MrMaple.com, we're known for our Japanese maples, but we have some of the largest selection of really cool woody ornamentals that you'll find anywhere in the United States, mail order. You can actually go to the rare plant section, the tab that says rare plants. That's primarily what we're going to be talking about today. For the purposes, though, of this, we didn't want to do a whole podcast on azaleas, our top 25, so we included the azaleas in this and the red buds. So we've got the red buds, the azaleas, the hydrangeas, and the rare plants lumped together in one grouping for this particular top 25 list. Rare plants, there's so many cool plants we do at Mr. Maple. We love variegation. We love plants that are weeping. We love plants that are different than what you find for the normal plant of its type.
Yeah, it's really cool. I get excited getting out in the greenhouses because I stumble onto things that catch my attention that maybe they didn't at one time of the season. Maybe they're blooming now, or they have some small little berries or something like that. You know, some of these holly bushes really start to kind of show off in the winter months. You get those little berries. But there's so many different characteristics of these plants that we're going to highlight today and just give you examples of how you can use them in your landscape, what you can pair them with, just kind of building that continuous process of creating an amazing landscape in your garden.
Now, coming in number 25, what we have is actually a false holly. So it looks like many of the things that have the berries, but this is one that gives you fragrant blooms. It's closely related to the fragrant tea olives. And so, the fragrant tea olives that are out there that just give you just this amazing blooms. Well, Osmanthus heterophyllus goshiki will actually bloom in November with really sweet fragrance that is really, really spectacular.
Yeah, I love when you get into the osmanthus. I've actually been trying a few in my garden, and I'm kind of pushing the zone a little bit too. These are rated zones 6 through 9 for these. So just kind of depending on where you're at in the country, you want to make sure you look at your zone where you're located at to make sure these are hardy for your area. But they're great plants. I mean, they give you an evergreen presence out in the garden. And with this particular variety, you have some beautiful variegation. I mean, it's just kind of this kind of unreal looking, like splattered variegation. The way that just all over the leaves, so many different colors playing in that leaf. It's really nice.
Yeah, man, Osmanthus heterophyllus goshiki coming in number 25. That is a great landscaping plant. It fits in a small space. It stays compact and dense. It's something that's great as just a featured plant, but also it does really well as a plant to pair out there with your featured plants. The variegation is attractive. The foliage is interesting. I wouldn't put it somewhere since it does have those holly-like leaves where you'll be brushing up against it. Give it a little bit of space from the walkway.
Yeah, it can get a little prickly.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful tree that adds that fragrance out there in the garden. And I think that's probably one of the most underrated things in a garden. We always, as Japanese maple people, we think foliage. Well, this has variegated foliage, is interesting, but it adds that extra dynamic with that smell out there in the garden that's really sweet.
Yeah, I think that's important to kind of go down through all of the different aspects of, just those different spectrums of, how you put together your garden really plays into the experience. And if you want fragrance and visual, and I mean, there's just so many different ways you can play off of those characteristics. And I think Goshiki kind of nails it on all of those aspects. So great plant.
Now, if you're looking for something architectural, coming in at number 24 in our top rare plants of 2025, we've got Ulmus glabra Camperdowni, the Camperdown umbrella elm, which originated at, well, one of the first ones that they know of, probably found in the wild and then brought to Camperdown Castle. And so it's got like this rich history.
Right.
But I mean, that is such a cool weeping elm.
Yeah, I mean, you guys should check out the website, Mr. Maple, and check out some of those photos there. I'm sure Sean will pop one up here for everybody watching here on the stream here on YouTube. But just crazy shapes on this thing. I mean, there's no two of them alike. They just twist and curl and just create these great mounding, cascading shapes in the garden. Just unbelievable. I love it. I
mean, this is such a cool tree from Scotland. I've probably got some Scottish and Irish heritage both in my blood, so it's kind of a cool plant for that. And it's just such a unique specimen. I mean, the twisting, the gnarliness, it reminds me of that Nakakomoto weeping I saw in Japan, the Japanese maple that's, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old. That's what this Camperdown elm does too. It just has this unique twisting, arching like shape that is gorgeous not only when it's in leaf, but when it's out of leaf.
Right.
That structure is just immaculate, and it's something to behold.
Yeah, I think, too, that'd be really cool to see this, maybe tried in a bonsai form. I think that'd be really, really nice just to kind of see that weeping structure. And I know a lot of elms are very popular for bonsai, and seeing a weeping one in a bonsai form would be pretty sweet,
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, Camperdown elm is pretty spectacular. And then if you had a Camperdown elm, especially as like one of those weeping forms where it's just droops straight down.
Right. Oh man.
That'd be pretty dope. Now, Camperdown elm, Ulmus glabra Camperdowni, has yellow foliage. So it's going to pair very well with many of your maples out there because it may have a similar structure to maybe a traditional weeping Japanese maple. But instead of going to red like many of your Japanese maples go to in the fall, this one typically goes to a bright yellow. And you don't get any oranges in it, so it's going to be more on that bright yellow spectrum, which is really nice addition out there in the fall landscape.
Well, yeah, and I know, yellow is one of your favorite colors, so, beautiful yellow fall color. It just really plays off of everything else in your landscape. That's what I like about, you talk about that all the time. Yellow just makes everything else pop, and so you get that nice end of the season splash, that big kind of finale there, and it's really cool this time of the year watching all the trees kind of start to change that color and put on a little show for you before the season ends.
All right, guys, coming to number 23, we've got our first hydrangea on this list, and this is Hydrangea macrophylla Nico Blue, also known as just Nico, and it's one of those large blooming hydrangeas that everybody just loves out there in the garden.
Yeah, I mean these are those big mop head style blooms. I mean some of them are just big as your head. It's crazy how big they can get, and always just such a great presence in the landscape. I love this. I have kind of a shady section of my garden, and I've been adding some hydrangeas in there, some variegated types. I need a nice blue color for that as well. I'm thinking, I need some pops of color in the shaded part of my garden, so maybe I can tuck in a nice hydrangea there.
Now, Nico Blue is one of those hydrangeas that, in our western North Carolina soil are going to be more blue naturally. In more alkaline soils, you may get more pink to the blooms. You can actually give a pH increaser or decreaser to help change with the color. So you can actually go buy specific fertilizer that will help make this tree more acidic or more alkaline. And if it's more alkaline, you're gonna be more pink. And if it's more acidic, it's gonna be more of that blue to purple. So keep that in mind. Nico Blue, known as Nico, not named after like the Nico shark, actually named after like Nico National Park in Japan.
Gotcha.
It is such a beautiful hydrangea out there. And it's a classic. I mean, if you know hydrangeas, this is one of the more classic hydrangeas. And coming at number 23, which is unusual. I mean, normally we start to see on our list, some of the not so classic hydrangeas, but people really went back to some of those classics
Right.
here at Mr. Maple this past year.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy just how something becomes a staple in the landscape, and you drive through a neighborhood and you're going to see a blue hydrangea somewhere in that neighborhood, or a red lace leaf out there somewhere. But yeah, it's cool to see how the trends start to become going back to the roots of those traditional plants. I like that.
All right, guys, coming at number 22, we have an azalea by our good friend Buddy Lee. He is actually the guy who produced the Encore Azalea, but we're not talking about the Encore Azalea. We're talking about North Lake Beauty. This is some of his breeding work that is really beautiful, really unusual, because you have blooms that are variegated and it blooms prolifically. Yeah,
I mean, it will just completely cover the plant. I've seen these in bloom out in the greenhouse. It's absolutely amazing. I think everybody, when we're out pulling the orders, when we start pulling those, we're like, wow, wait a minute. Like, I need to start looking at this a little closer. That variegation on the bloom is so striking. You want to get your camera out, start taking pictures and share them with all your friends. You're like, check this thing out. I love azaleas. I think they just have such a purposeful place in your garden, just that vibrant color that they can bring, and and like, again, another staple for the landscape. I mean, azaleas are so popular and common, and to have one with a variegated bloom, I think you're kind of looking for something a little special. You can get it with this. So.
And that's one of the things we're doing with our azalea collection we're offering at Mr. Maple. On Mr. Maple, if you go click on the azalea section, we've got both the evergreens and the deciduous azaleas. The deciduous azaleas, they drop leaves, and they're going to typically bloom in the spring to summer, during a time frame, and have those large trusses. And the trusses will be composed of multiple blooms in that truss. A lot of the evergreen azaleas that we're talking about, you may be familiar with, have that foliage that are evergreen to semi-evergreen in most climates, and they bloom spring or summer for a period of time with single blooms across the plant rather than huge trusses all in one spot. Right. And so it's a very different style azalea, but there's so many different cool ones that we've been offering on Mr. Maple. Coming into 21, we actually have one of the Satsuki azaleas. Now, Satsuki azaleas are azaleas that bloom typically in late spring to early summer, and they're dense and compact in nature. And this particular one is Momo no Haru.
Yeah, I love the evergreen presence that azaleas give you. Typically you're thinking of like an evergreen conifer or something like that, but you can play into that evergreen feel and get the flowering interest on top of that. So I really like that about Momo, and this is going to be a nice kind of low spreading habit as well, so it fit in a lot of good spaces in your garden.
I think that's probably the most underrated thing about the Satsuki azaleas is they don't take up a lot of space. So Momo no Haru is one of those azaleas that you can go and put in those smaller places in the garden that's getting, a lot of sunlight.
Yeah.
And then with these Satsuki azaleas, these are the ones that have been bred for compact dwarf stature. So compact, dense dwarf, but the blooms aren't dwarf. They're anything but. We're talking about larger blooms. We're talking 2, sometimes 3-inch blooms on some of these Satsuki azaleas. And so they're very dynamic. And with Momo no Haru, you get that just rich purple bloom that's just amazing. Because of that dense dwarf compact habit, they fit in small spaces. So they're great for, those plantings, foundational, walking along the walkway, coming up to your house where you can just really have some bright, vibrant colors in a small space. But they're also excellent for container plants and for bonsai. And so many people will take these Satsuki azaleas and train them and shape them and turn them into just amazing bonsais that then they can bring into a greenhouse and force them to bloom in different times of the season.
Right.
So that's something that's really cool with these Satsuki azaleas that has become very popular.
Absolutely, man. We have such a great list of plants here. Coming in at number 20, I'm looking at this, man. I'm getting excited about this. We got an ilex here, Granada Dwarf Pagoda. I love this plant, man. It's so wild. The tiny little round leaves on it, they just play into my imagination because, they look like little mouse ears or something. It's just this weird texture and like super dwarf. We're talking very, very small, very slow growing. And one that I've recently added to my collection. Excited to.
And this
to
is one of those
about.
plants you were talking about earlier that get those berries. This is a holly. This gets those dark purple black berries to it that are just dense, compact next to the stem. It's got that dense structure. Great for bonsai, but great for the small places in the landscape. Its usability is off the charts.
Yeah.
It fits in those small spaces and it gives you an evergreen presence. It fits in that Makawa garden because it has that dense structure. The leaves are maybe half to quarter inch.
Yeah, I mean,
and so, it just got that perfectly round, bubbly appearance out there. And it fits so well with your traditional Japanese maples. It is a holly, so it can handle a lot of sun. So it's very resilient out there as well. And it's great for containers.
Yeah, it's one that I think it just pairs, like you said, with so many things. I have one out in my garden planted next to a Mankawa, a little one of the Makawa varieties. And they just make like the perfect pair, man. They just play off of each other so well. The structures, the leaf shape. Now I've got my Mankawa going into fall color, and then, my dwarf pagoda is still that strong hunter green there, looking nice in the garden. I think it's a great plant. I think, it's underused, I think. Whenever you think about dwarf plants, I think a lot of people think, well, they're just so slow growing, but they have a place in your gardens because you can add so much texture and color in tiny little places, which draws your eye along through a bed or whatever you're working on. So I love that about this plant.
All right, guys, coming to number 19, we've got another hydrangea. We've got hydrangea pennymac. Now, pennymac is another mott pet hydrangea that can be pink to blue depending on the pH of the soil, but this is a rebloomer. So it's a slightly improved version of something like Nico, and hence it's further up on the list. And I think as we go up further on the list, you're going to start finding more and more interesting plants to me. So I think y'all are going to get real excited as we get towards the top of this list. And there's some newcomers that are some of the first times we've ever offered already making towards the top of this list. So there's a lot of good items of rare plants coming out.
Yeah, it's hard when we try to make these lists because it's like there's so many plants we want to talk about. And it's like, well, we got to narrow it down here and put it into a nice format for you guys. But yeah, pennymac, here we got a reblooming hydrangea. I love that about it. A lot of times with hydrangeas, you get that big show up front, and then it kind of fades away and becomes kind of a background plant for a while. But you kind of get another show with that reblooming effect. I love that, man. I love how you can play with the colors on hydrangeas too. You talk about that. The soil acidity can really affect that. So you can kind of play with that. One year you could kind of mess around with it and get it to go a little more pink. The next year, try to go a little more blue.
That's a fun thing about it.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And these hydrangeas like pennymac make great cut flowers too. So you can, bring that garden to your dining room table. They're a plant that my wife loves.
Oh yeah.
And so I know as soon as I'm getting everything set up where the house is going to be, developing where she can just go and enjoy some hydrangeas is going to be and azaleas is going to be a big thing for her because that's what she really enjoys. We've got one pennymac sitting at the corner right now of the house we're at. And she talks about it all the time. She's like, look, it's blooming. Look, it's looking so good, like all the time. So, that's really some of her enjoyment out there in the garden. So I can't wait to sort of cultivate that for her in a hydrangea garden. And pennymac will probably be part of that process.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, coming to number 18, we've got Edgeworthia chrysantha, the Chinese paper plant.
Here it is, guys. This thing is cool. Honestly, I didn't know much about this plant until I came out here to Mr. Maple and started working with you guys, and I've really come to appreciate this. It has such a unique look. The leaves on it, man. It has a very tropical feel to it. I actually have a good size one of these planted in my garden, and I know I'm pushing the zone here. I'm in zone 6A, but this is a zone 7 through 10 plant. But mine's doing great. I've got it kind of tucked up by the privacy fence, so it's protected from a lot of the cold wind in the winter. But doing really well. Got some nice clusters of blooms on it right now. Looking forward to watching this thing grow.
Now, my first experience was when the Maple Society had their meeting down in Texas a few years ago, probably closer towards 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. And Matt and I visited early and walked through Stephen F. Austin University with Dr. David Creech. And Dr. Creech called it, that's the Chinese paper bush, also called the Chinese love knot plant. And he would say that he would tell not the customers, he'd tell the students all about this being the Chinese love knot plant. You start looking around on all the Edgeworthia, and they've tied the branches into knots. And so
Interesting.
Edgeworthia is a very malleable plant. And when you start playing around with it, you start to realize that it's really flexible. And that's why one of the reasons why they make paper out of it in China. They can make paper out of it. But the interesting thing is, he said, it's called the Chinese love knot plant because two people will get together and they'll tie a knot. And as your love grows, so does that knot. And it doesn't kill the plant. And I was like, that's interesting. You start looking around and there's just knots and all the plants everywhere.
Yeah, that is cool. I didn't know that about this plant. That's really cool. I actually was thinking about trying to stake mine the other day because it's kind of leaning one way, and maybe I'll just pull it up and tie it in a little love knot there.
Now, we've been growing it here in Western North Carolina for a number of years.
Yeah.
We've got some gorgeous ones over at my mom and dad's rental house where Nigel was. And we fell in love with it. It's a plant that can handle dry shade, but can actually handle a little more sun than we anticipated too. There's some gorgeous ones down in Columbia, South Carolina at the zoo, botanical gardens. And there's some great ones down at the South Carolina Botanical Gardens at Clemson. I've been super impressed by its heat tolerance, its durability. And the thing that's most interesting about the Edgeworthia chrysantha is they bloom during the winter, late winter, when nothing else is blooming. And the blooms hang downward, and there aren't any leaves on the foliage, foliage on the plant.
Yeah.
And the blooms they look kind of white, and then they open it up and they're yellow on the actual part of the bloom, and they're so fragrant. And so this is a fantastic thing to put out there near your walkway, near a door, somewhere you're going to be spending time, because the sweet fragrance of Edgeworthia, again, adds that extra dynamic out there in anyone's garden.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that really kind of got me excited about this plant. And I saw you guys were successful growing it here, and so it gave me the courage to try it. And I've got this planted out by my back deck. My mother-in-law likes to go out there and sit. And so I thought, man, this would be a perfect spot there where the wind would blow and you can get that fragrance blowing up onto the deck. It's such a beautiful plant. I love the foliage on it, and the blooms are just kind of an extra for me because there's nothing else in my garden that looks like the leaves on Edgeworthia. I love that. It just plays so far out in that tropical texture. It's
kind of like a rhododendron, but like more rabbit ear-like.
Yeah.
It's weird to describe the foliage that when it comes out. And when the foliage comes out, that's an attractive feature during the spring and the summer and the fall itself. But that winter time when it blooms, that's when Edgeworthia really brings it and makes something unique and special out there in the garden. All right, guys, coming up next at number 17, we've got Hydrangea Love.
Hydrangea Love, guys. I love hydrangeas, man. I mean, this is cool. This has got the double florets, so you get kind of a little more intricate bloom. Definitely want to get your camera out for this thing. I mean, I love whenever we got things in bloom here at the nursery, and I'll say, hey, Tim, I'm going to grab the camera and just go cut loose for a minute, go grab some pictures. Because, I mean, I'm telling you guys, like, it's so fun to kind of go throughout the seasons in your garden, watch things progress, see things bloom and then fade, and then something else blooms in and grabs your attention. That's what's cool about hydrangeas. I think they have their place in the garden, and they kind of always kind of lead you to the next part of the season.
And I think this is one of the things that people who aren't familiar with hydrangeas don't realize how ornate a love actually is. Mm-hmm. See, when you have a hydrangea bloom, you've got this large bloom. That's the big thing that you see, that cluster. But each cluster is made up of hundreds sometimes of florets, which are like mini blooms all across the plant. And what love is it's a hydrangea that was bred in Japan by one of the top breeders of hydrangeas to create having double flowered florets on that big bloom. So you've got double florets and then hundreds of those coming together to make that beautiful bloom that love has. And the color is just amazing. You get some really nice pink shades of pink, which is where that tree gets its name Love. But if you do give it more acidic soils, it can be more blue.
Right, get into that blue spectrum.
So definitely pretty awesome, pretty cool. And, that's a pretty interesting, it'd be a really cool thing if someone took a hydrangea and did a gender reveal with the color of the bloom. So you had to wait for the bloom to open up
right.
with the pink or blue. You go out there and you put acidic or alkaline stuff on there,
Right, yeah.
to make it bloom. That'd be pretty cool. Just thinking about that. All right, y'all. Coming down at number 16 on our Consumer Choice Awards for 2025. These are what y'all have chosen. We've got Suki no Shimo. This is basically like a Shishigashira version of an azalea.
Yeah, really cool. We got another evergreen, compact, very low mounding form of azalea. I love that aspect of it. And then, like you said, you get the little extra something there with that cupped leaf. Gives you a nice extra play into that texture, which also plays in with that bloom, and it kind of all ties together to create another amazing rare plant that you guys have very much chosen as a very popular plant for you guys to purchase here on MrMaple.com, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, this is such an amazing azalea. You get those white pink blooms that are very, very large that bloom during the summer. This is that Satsuki azalea that stays dense and compact in those small places in the garden. Great for containers, great for bonsai. Many of our photos on MrMaple.com, when you see the bonsais, those are from our friend John O'Lee down in Alabama. And he loves taking many of the Satsuki azaleas, especially Suki no Shimo, and turning it into bonsai because you get that foliage interest year round. It's an evergreen azalea. And that just rich green cups up. I mean, it's almost like a Shishigashira, almost like a Okushimo version, just where the leaves curl upward and cup. It is really unusual and different. And then when it blooms, and then all of a sudden you've got this cup foliage, which is small and compact and dense, and all of a sudden you just have these large 2.5 inch, 3 inch blooms popping across it that are white pink. It's next level.
Yeah, I like how that kind of just plays off of each other. It's like an over exaggerated bloom with this really tiny, small curled leaf. It's kind of like the best of both worlds there, especially when you get into azaleas. And, I've been really diving a lot into bonsai and trying different plants. And I have yet to try an azalea. Maybe I just hadn't found the right one yet. And now you got this one on my radar for sure. I love how plants can just change throughout the season. And I think this one being an evergreen, I'd always have that foliage behind it and then kind of anticipate the blooms each year. Pretty cool.
See, we do these podcasts not just to sell you plants, but also to sell Brian Rule more plants for his ever-shrinking garden.
Yes, exactly. I had to go to bonsai because I ran out of room.
All right, guys. So we're down to number 15, and we're down to Osmanthus fragrance Yenbi Shuanghui.
Yeah, I mean this one's just fun to say. I just it's like every time we get it on the pull list, it's like, all right, we need 6 Yenbi Shuanghuis, but it's a cool plant. I can see why this is very popular. Love that variegated foliage on this. I mean, it's just such a cool plant, and this is the Osmanthus fragrance, so you get a very nice, sweet, fragrant flower bloom on this as well. This is one of the last of the Osmanthus fragrance that I've yet to add to my collection. I've got like all the other ones that I was kind of building slowly to see how they would perform in my garden. And obviously the variegated form is probably one of the best out of all that group. So I'm looking forward to get this one in my garden.
I love the fragrant sweet olives. In the South, they're kind of the traditional plant that's out there in the landscape that gives you a nice evergreen shrub, especially in the deep South, that gives you that extra fragrance in the garden. And I say fragrance on the garden, when they're in one of our tunnel hoop frames here at Mr. Maple, what we consider our greenhouses.
Oh, man.
When they're in bloom, you can smell them when you walk in 100 feet away. It is amazing. And mature Osmanthus fragrance Yenbi Shuanghui will bloom in every month that has the letter R in it. And so November, January, February, March, April. I mean, you go down the list.
Yeah.
And so it's a tree that will bloom with white blooms close to the branches. The blooms, I would say, aren't very noticeable on this one because the foliage
Right.
is so striking with the cream and pink variegation. Just a little bit of green on the interior part of the leaf, and it can be like a blue green. It's almost like a butterfly version of a fragrant sweet olive.
Yeah, it is. It's got some really nice colors, that white and cream color with that green, and then some of that new growth too will have some pink blushes to it. Very, very reminiscent of some of those variegated maples. So it'd be cool to pair this with something like a Beni Shishihinge or a butterfly, something like that. Would really cool just to see those two plants being so far apart from each other in the world of plants, but having so many similarities. Really interesting.
Now, one thing that's really unusual is one of my good friends, Ted Stevens. He actually brought this variety in, and when it arrived, he was looking at it. And his, the ones that we're offering now are rooted cuttings. When he got his in, it was grafted. And so he started looking at what it was grafted to. And it was grafted to a Chinese French tree, a Conifers retussus. Okay. And they're in the same family, but they're so strikingly different. It was just shocking to everyone in the plant world.
Wow.
That you could actually use Chinese French tree as a rootstock for osmanthus fragrance. And it blew a lot of people's minds, and now some people produce it that way. So that's something that's interesting and unusual about osmanthus fragrance and Conifers retussus, which, one's like this shrub-like tree, and the other one's like a flowering tree out there in the landscape in the deep south. And you're like, man, how do these two, you never think these two were related at all, but, that's the crazy plant world we live in.
It is, man. That's awesome.
All right, guys, coming to number 14, we're getting a little Zydeco here with Nyssa sylvatica Zydeco Twist.
Yeah, we've got a really cool contorted and twisting form of black gum here. A really cool tree. I love whenever you get those extra characteristics like this. Just any of those weeping and contorted, twisting style of plants, I think just adds such a dynamic presence to the landscape. And what's cool about it is like none of them look the same. That's what I like about this. Like each one that you get and it starts to develop out in your garden, it just creates its own unique shape to itself. And so anytime anybody sees it, they're like, man, that thing just looks sweet. Love the shape of it.
This is one of those plants that I love because of its twisting and contorting habit. It looks good whether it's in leaf or out of leaf. The branches just sort of meander different directions, almost like a snake. And it is very interesting to see, especially out of leaf. Now, black gums, they're known for really having some amazing fall color out in the landscape. Here in Western North Carolina, you see some bold reds out on a mountain, and it very much could be a black gum just displaying some amazing fall color. And that's what Zydeco Twist will do as well. This is a selection that was named by our good friend Todd Lezane, and he's Cajun, and he's like, it's going to be a good Cajun name, and went with the name Zydeco Twist.
Yeah, this is a really cool plant. I think everybody should try to add something like this to your garden. And this one gives you kind of the best of both that you can get with like a black gum. You get that beautiful fall color, but you also get a unique contorted, twisted shape to it. So
the Tupelos are awesome. Yeah. I love them. All right, guys, coming in at number 13, we've got Stordia pseudocamellia pewter.
Oh man, this is another cool plant. I love this style of plant right here. It's got some really nice kind of silver blue foliage to it. Really stands out against that bark. Just the way this plant holds itself too, and those beautiful blooms. Just a great plant overall.
Yeah, I think it's a winner all the way around. You've got foliage interest year round with the pewter, or I say year round, spring, summer with the pewter, kind of just amazing color. You've got great fall color. When it goes to fall color, you get some just amazing orange red. Almost makes you think it's a Japanese maple. It's got such good fall color. You got bark like a crepe myrtle, where you just have this peeling bark that can be gray, brown, cinnamon. You get this mixture that's just really nice on the bark itself. And then you get blooms, pseudocamellia, false camellia. You get blooms like a camellia on it. And so, and that happens during the summer. So you've got amazing characteristics on this tree that are ornamental, whether it's out of leaf, in leaf, fall color, blooms. It's a winner every season.
Yeah, and not only that, guys, this will go from zones 4 through 8. So those of you in those colder climates up north, it's going to work great for your landscape. There's very few plants that give you a lot of like ornamental winter interest in those winter landscape, like the really cold landscapes. Your coral bark varieties are typically not going to go up that far. So to be able to get something with some nice color and bark interest in the winter would be a great option for this in those cold climates.
Now, Stordia pseudocamellias, they need great drainage, and it's also good if you plant them and give them some organic matter when planting. One other tip for Stordia pseudocamellias like pewter: make sure you don't put them in the ground and then change your mind and then move them. They're not a fan of being transplanted. So once you put them in the ground, leave them in that location. That's kind of their ride or die spot.
Right.
All right, guys, coming in at number 12, we've got Osmanthus heterophyllus Sheehan, also known as party lights.
Oh man, this thing, every time we see a set of them out in the greenhouses, it's so impressive to see the variety of color that this thing pushes out. I like how like the new growth just gives you like this exciting, the plant's kind of sitting there just kind of in the background, and all of a sudden, bam, all that new growth comes off of it and it lights up. And you got pinks and yellows and oranges. I mean, there's all these varieties of colors on it, and it gives you that it's another false holly. So it gives you that nice little holly looking style leaf to it. It's an amazing plant.
Now, I've never been a fan of just like your plain basic green holly out there.
Right.
And so this is a false holly. So again, it doesn't get the berries. It has blooms more like that Osmanthus fragrans we were talking about. Mm-hmm. It's an Osmanthus heterophyllus. But it brings you the aspects that you like about hollies in the landscape, with that foliage that's just kind of very unique and spiky and ornate. But it brings a party to the garden. And that's what I like about a garden, is I like color, I like flash, I like flair. And that's what you get on the new growth on Sheehan. And that's why it has that trademark name of Party Lights on it, is because it's that peachy, yellow, orange new growth that keeps popping across it that provides interest with every flush of growth.
Well, and it sounds like to me that, our customers like a party in the garden too, because they've been ordering this. One of the most popular of our Osmanthus varieties that you guys have continuously adding to your garden and collection. And I think for good reason. I think it's really, I've learned a lot about adding those different styles of plants to my landscape. And getting into the world of Osmanthus, you get that fragrance and you get that evergreen appearance. And then with Sheehan, you get both of those things, but you get that spring interest and that flush of color when it starts putting on new growth. So, I mean, what an amazing variety of plant to offer for you guys. And we got a crazy list here, man. You guys have really made this easy for us to talk about, because you guys like some cool plants.
Hey guys, coming at number 11, we've on your consumer choice on 2025, barely edged out Sheehan. Sheehan was at number 12. We're talking about number 11, Azalea Hilda Niblet, which is just an amazing variegated bloom.
Oh yeah, I mean this is one of our most popular azaleas. Like I said, we pull this every day when they do our customer pulls, and for good reason. I mean, I love this. The blooms on this thing are just so intricate. A ruffled bloom flecked with kind of pink and white. And sometimes you can get even a multicolor effect on the blooms there, where some blooms will be almost solid pink and the others will be kind of a darker shade of pink. It's really cool. I love azaleas. They bring such a presence to the garden.
Yeah, this Robin Hill hybrid reminds us of a lot of the things we love about Satsuki azaleas, but kind of an exaggerated form. We get that dense, compact habit that we love with the Satsuki azaleas, but we get a bloom that can be 3.5 inches on the bloom. So it's one of the larger blooms that you can get on an azalea, especially a dense, compact form. And then you get variegation on top of that. So, I mean, for me, this is an amazing selection. It's a late spring bloomer. I mean, it blooms, late May, early June, and it's just beautiful. It fits in those small spaces in the garden, and it makes sense why this is one of our top azaleas sold in 2025.
Yeah, I think it's cool too when you get into these hybrid azaleas and kind of that whole process. It kind of creates an interesting way for us to kind of stagger those bloom times in our garden. So we can have an azalea that blooms in late summer. We can have one that blooms in early summer, spring. So I really like how you can kind of play into that effect where you can add flowering things to come into play each part of the season. And here's a perfect example of a beautiful azalea.
All right, y'all, coming at number 10, down to our top 10 Consumer Choice Awards of rare plants in 2025. These are your picks you purchased with your dollars here on Mr. Maple. We've got Fagus sylvatica, Purpurea pendula.
Yeah, this is a cool plant. Tim, tell me what your favorite part about this plant is right here.
It's weeping habit.
The weeping habit.
Weeping habit's pretty awesome. When you see one of the large specimens out in the landscape, it's dramatic.
Right.
You may have a tree that has this upright structure, and then all of a sudden the branches weep down straight, and it creates a large tree out there in the landscape that is just amazing with its extremely dramatic features. Think of what we think of how people stake up a rayusin, and then it has that cascading habit,
right,
but on a much larger scale.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's hard for people to, understand what these plants do when they get in a larger size. You see it in a 1 gallon. It's kind of hard to understand how these things are going to develop. But that's what's great about going somewhere like Buckholz or on our website. We have a lot of pictures and videos of different plants that we have here. But seeing them, as a mature specimen like this out in the landscape really kind of allows you to realize the dynamic presence it can create.
Yeah, I mean, it has that deep, dark burgundy foliage. Fagus sylvatica need to have good drainage as well, the European beaches. But this is a perfect tree to put out there in the sunlight to really give you some of that deep, deep, dark burgundy foliage, that purple foliage that is just out of this world. And then to create a dynamic garden, just throw a yellow plant out there and it's going to contrast so well. Throw Easter Palmatum Summer Gold out there. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Throw it, and you're going to have the easy beginnings to a garden.
Yeah. Very cool.
All right, guys, coming at number 9, we've got an edible ornamental. We've got Vaccinium red candy, a lingonberry bush.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're taking it to the next level, and I love that this is a customer-based list here, what you guys have been ordering. And it gets me excited because I see how you guys are going down that list. Not only are you're adding fragrant things to your garden, now you're adding edible things to your garden. Really cool. I love that aspect. I have a vegetable garden out in next to all of my landscaped gardens. So adding those two things together, I think, is such a cool aspect. And with red candy, such a cool little plant, man. I love the little berries it gets, the flowers. Everything about it's just really nice.
The glossy green leaves make this one of those plants that you can put out in the landscape and put in a container. You can put it as just an ornamental plant out there in the landscape. And the fact that you can eat those berries that it develops, that just makes it next level. I'm not an expert on the different things you can do with lingonberry,
right?
But I'll tell you, there's a lot of cool things when you look it up. And my little cousin, Sarah, she's all into edible planting.
Yeah.
And she was so excited that I had red candy that she could get and go put out in her landscape and garden. Nice. And she's like, this is awesome. And she really liked the fact that it was such a beautiful plant too. It's not just your typical fruit tree, right, or
it has some
bush.
Ornamental appeal.
It's got a lot of ornamental appeal to it, and that's what takes red candy to that next level.
Yeah, really cool. I've seen this actually recently. I saw some pictures online of this done in a bonsai form, which is really, really cool. It kind of got me looking at the plant a little bit differently, just to realize how many different ways you can use it. I like what you were saying too, having it in a nice container up on the deck somewhere where you can walk outside and pluck you a few berries, take a little treat, as you head out to the garden. It's cool, man. I'm that way. I kind of graze into my garden. I run by the blueberry bush to grab a few. And so I think I need to add me a red candy.
All right, guys, coming at number 8 on the Consumer Choice Awards, we've got Fagus sylvatica tricolor. This is a heavily desired European beech, and you're starting to see what we do here at Mr. Maple is we take the plants we love and try to make them in higher numbers available each and every year, so that you can make this easy to get in your garden. And that's our goal with all of these varieties that are amazing. It's not just have them in limited numbers on Mr. Maple, to have them so that a lot of people can get in your garden. I can tell from the numbers here, a lot of people this past year were able to get Fagus sylvatica tricolor and get it in your garden.
I mean, and what a striking plant. I mean, the variegation on this, you don't see that kind of variegation and that vibrant very often on other plants. This has a bright pink red with a purple, kind of just plays on those two colors together on that leaf. It's really striking. And I mean, the beech trees, I mean, they get me excited because it's just a different kind of style of leaf and tree. And I'm always looking for contrast, in texture and color. So, and being variegated, I mean, I love a nice variegated plant, nice pop of color.
I love that you get the pink and white variegation on the burgundy foliage. And that's what makes this tree extra. When it first leaves out, you just get the pink. And so tricolor is amazing. It's got a good upright form. For a European beech, it's a next level one. I mean, it's kind of the Geisha gone wild of the beech world. And it is spectacular out there, giving you just that pink red color in the garden.
Definitely one, too, for those colder climates. We got a zone 4 through 7 plant here. So if you need a nice, strong, cold, hardy, variegated plant, this is going to be that for your landscape there. So and it looks like a lot of you guys have been taking advantage of our availability of having this. So exciting to see this going into so many landscapes out there.
All right, guys, coming in at number 7, I'm going to have to admit, when I first heard that we should try growing some Japanese forest grass by my manager out at Buckholt's farm, I was like, oh, come on, grass. Like we pull grass out of the plants before we were out there weeding them and throwing grass away. Why should I do Japanese forest grass? And then when I actually started seeing the Japanese forest grass being used in the garden, man, it complements the maple so well.
Oh man, it's such a cool plant. This is something I'm familiar with. I used a lot of this back in Oklahoma actually to create borders for bedded areas in my garden. I was trying to create like this walkways and different bedded areas. And so I'd use this bright golden Japanese forest grass to create these borders around the beds. And it just looked so amazing. Instead of a stone border or something like that, you can use these grasses. And I was kind of creating some nice little sweeping, moving lines with it. And it just really plays into the effect, and just that pop of color is really nice.
Now, number 7 is Hackanicola macra. I don't know if I'm saying that species correctly, but areola. And areola is basically, it's got golden yellow margins with like a green stripe down the center. And so it gives you this two-tone effect on a Japanese forest grass that's low. It's not really something that takes over, but it does make this nice little cluster, tightly dense. And they've got some really nice versions of this at Buckholt's Nursery underneath a really old specimen of Benihoshi ruby stars. And seeing the contrast between this, ruby red dwarf Japanese maple and then this Japanese forest grass that's not planted directly at the base, it's probably planted 5 foot from the base of it, but in just this really nice dense manner, you create this two-tone effect where you've got the yellow contrasting with the red.
Yeah.
And so it's an easy thing to put out there for easy maintenance. I mean, you put this out there in your bed where you don't have to water all the time, and it also prevents weeds from coming up in those areas. So it's got multiple uses in the fact that you're getting good color contrast, but also it's creating a low-maintenance garden. And I think that's the idea that everybody wants to do out in their landscape, is create their garden, but then make it so that, we're not always out there having to pull weeds in every single spot.
Yeah, exactly. Another nice thing about this plant too is it works great for shadier locations. So, if you have a darker area of your garden, you're needing to brighten that up. It can really brighten up that space if you wanted to do like a clump or a nice line border to a bed. Just a cool plant, man, and just to see you guys purchasing this and adding it to your collection, I think is really cool.
First time we offered it this year, already made our top sales list, which is crazy.
That's awesome.
First time we offered it, our manager out at our Buckholz farm, Joel Johnson, said, "Guys, y'all need to be doing this." And so I said, "Okay, let's try it out." And I got to say, I was a little skeptical at first because, again, grass is grass. Yeah. I was like, come on, it's grass. But then when I actually started looking and growing it, I started noticing it in the garden. And I started noticing it in other people's gardens. We'd go visit private gardens. And the way it's used adds such a nice dynamic that now I'm thinking to myself, okay, how do I use this? Because this is awesome. Yeah. This is a great companion plant with a Japanese maple that I overlooked. Yeah. I overlooked it because it was a grass, but it's a Japanese forest grass that brings that Asian aesthetic to the garden just on that next level.
All right, guys, we got number 6 coming up here. We got another amazing hydrangea for you. We got Miss Sayori.
Now, this one has been higher up on previous years. So there's a lot of things have edged it out this past year.
Yeah.
But Miss Sayori is that dark foliage that is amazing. We get burgundy foliage in the spring and the summer. But that love hydrangea we talked about before, the same breeder created this. And so, we talked about love had those double florets.
Right.
Miss Sayori also has double florets, but they're variegated.
Right.
So it's like, let's up the ante. Let's create purple foliage. Let's create double florets, and let's make those florets variegated pink and white. It's insane.
And clearly it's a recipe of success because we got it right here high up on the list. Everybody's loving this plant. One of my wife's favorite hydrangeas as well. She loves that dark kind of purple red foliage, which gives you, interest throughout the year, not just the flower. So the foliage is also the interest, which I like that about this particular hydrangea. Kind of gives you multiple times throughout the year to enjoy it.
Yeah, it gives you color out there in the landscape, and hydrangeas always give us amazing blooms. There's not really many hydrangeas that you're like, oh, that doesn't have a good bloom.
Right.
But this gives you probably the best bloom on top of burgundy foliage. Right. So you get that burgundy foliage out there that just adds that extra color dynamic. I would say that one problem that people have with Miss Sayoris is planting them in too wet of a spot. That's one thing I've seen with people, and this is true of some of our other slower growing hydrangeas as well. Making sure that you don't overwater, make sure it's got good drainage.
Yeah.
Which is tricky because hydrangeas, if you have them in full sun, you water them in the morning, you come back and they're looking droopy, you got to water in the evening.
Yeah.
And so some protection from the hot afternoon sun makes you have to water them less. But it's just one of those things, make sure you give it plenty of good drainage. Makes a great container plant as well. Guys, if you don't have Miss Sayori, you need one. It's on our number 6 Consumer Choice Awards for 2025, and it's one of my favorite hydrangeas we offer.
Yeah, awesome plant. All right, guys, moving on to number 5 here. Dude, this one's so cool. I'm excited to be able to talk about this, and it's high on the list. You guys have been buying this plant from us, and we appreciate that. We got a beautiful, beautiful red bud, Carolina Sweetheart.
Whew.
Man.
Now, I will say that this, if you went from last November to this November, a full 12 months, this one may actually be much higher.
Right.
Because we had a huge set of them that sold out in November of last year.
Right.
But Carolina Sweetheart is one of the most striking red buds. It was developed over here by Dr. Tom Rainey at the Mountain Horticultural Research Station over in Mills River. And he's a good friend of ours. This thing is next level. You get just this amazing redbud heart-shaped leaf that is pink edged and with creamy white over top of a maroon.
Right.
It is insane what the foliage itself can do.
Right.
Like any redbud, before it leaves out, you get the pink red blooms that are just amazing out there in the landscape as well. But those sort of rosy colors across a red bud, it's crazy.
Yeah, this is very popular plant. Almost every open house that we have, when customers come to the open house, are always, hey, do you have any Carolina Sweethearts? one of the most sought after of the redbud types for sure. And I remember when I was working for the city here, I stumbled on to a Carolina Sweetheart in their landscape, and a nice good size one as well. I was kind of like shocked. I was like, wow, this is just kind of used as a street tree over by the brand new fire department that they had built here in the city. And I was just really taken back. It's like, man, and it just had such a beautiful presence out there, that bright pink variegation popping off of it. You could kind of see the little fire department memorial behind it, just perfect setting in the landscape. And I mean, that's what this tree is all about. I mean, it can go in so many different types of landscapes. A very hardy tree, easy to grow, heat tolerant. Red buds are grow everywhere. I mean, you can grow a red bud just about anywhere.
I mean, they're native here in Western North Carolina.
Yeah, exactly.
They're so easy to grow. They're durable. They're beautiful. And I said this about Vegas Sylvatica tricolor, but this is true with this as well. This is kind of the Geisha Gone Wild of the red buds. Mm-hmm. I mean, it keeps giving you awesome colors all throughout the season. It has the blooms as well. And I will tell you, if they're not already listed, they're coming back to a 10 at 10 soon, the Carolina Sweethearts. When I was out at the Buckholtz farm not long ago, we had some quartz that had not been potted up. And, with 100,000 maple liners to pot up, I said, let's just go ahead and bring those to Mr. Maple.
Yeah.
We'll let some of our customers go ahead and get those rather than having to pot those up, because it is such a popular red bud. It is beautiful, variegated, next level, gives you just unique interest. And the habit on it, like many red buds, is upright and semi-pendulous. Mm-hmm. So you have this upright shape with branches that sort of arch downward that are just so beautiful.
Yeah, really nice plant, guys. Moving on here to number 4, we've got another really cool hydrangea for you guys here, one that I've recently added to my collection, Yuki Gasho. Man.
Brian, what do you like about Yuki Gasho?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, the variegation on this thing is so crazy. It's like the sand dusting style. One of my favorite styles of variegation. And I actually kind of put this over by Kumoy Nishiki, which is a variegated Subuldianum, which has that sand dusting style variegation. And I just thought, man, these two have just so many cool similarities, but are just in two totally different worlds. And I love taking plants that are different and then showcasing all the similarities that share together.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a fun thing to do. Whenever I think about Yuki Gasho, I think about we recently did a walkthrough at Brandy Hayes Garden in Charlotte and this year, and go check that out. She's got some gorgeous specimens of hydrangea Yuki Gasho. I think some people have sold it under the translation of Yuki Gasho, which means summer snow. Because it has that white variegation that's almost like snow-like across the foliage. It's a panicle hydrangea, so it's got the little bit larger bloom, a little more elongated white blooms. And hydrangea paniculata are very... they have the ability to really survive and thrive in more alkaline soils. And so for the Midwest, people who are trying to grow something that they want some hydrangeas, the paniculatas are great plants to grow out there in the Midwest in more alkaline soils. They're very durable. And Yuki Gasho gives you that foliage interest where the variegation is so pretty and so pronounced that it's almost like it's in bloom year round, because you just get color on the foliage spring and summer and fall.
Yeah, that's what's great about variegated plants. They just provide such a unique style of interest throughout the season. And then the blooms on top of that, it's just kind of something extra. I think the variegation on this plant is so striking. Sometimes you kind of forget about the fact that it's a blooming hydrangea. You're just so excited about all the variegation that's going on with it. I know whenever we get them out in the greenhouse and we've got a big set of these, you can see them a mile away. They're just glowing this white kind of glow into the greenhouse. And very popular. This is one that as soon as we list these, they sell out quick. Really cool to see that a bunch of people's been adding this to their landscape just like I did. So appreciate you guys, getting into these variegated plants with us.
All right, guys, coming at number 3, we're all the way down to number 3 out of our top 25 Consumer Choice Awards for 2025. These are your choices that you picked out with your dollars buying trees on Mr. Maple in 2025. And number 3, we've got Hydrangea quercifolia Little Honey.
Oh man, this is so cool, man. I got to shout out my homie Sean over here. He's running the board for us here in the podcast, but he's been telling me about Little Honey and hyping that up for me, and I'm a big fan, man. Sean's got a nice one right now in fall color. It's phenomenal. Like, this thing is golden yellow in the spring and summer, but the fall color is epic. I mean, it's as good as some of the maples out there.
The oak leaf hydrangeas are famous for their fall color.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that's very unique about the Hydrangea quercifolia is their foliage is thicker. Hydrangea quercifolia are actually native to the southeast. And so we've got a nativar of a dwarf compact form that's yellow. So it's easy to use, gives yellow in small spaces. It gives you some large white blooms that everyone loves about the oak leaf hydrangeas. But that fall color may be one of the characteristics that people love the most about the oak leaves. And people who start to grow oak leaf hydrangeas sometimes start collecting every oak leaf hydrangea they can get because they start to realize, we get spring interest, we get summer interest of the blooms, and we get some of the best fall colors we've ever seen out of a hydrangea.
Yeah.
And so it's very unique in that way. And these we have offered more and more on Mr. Maple. We offered more Little Honeys than we've ever offered before this past year, and they never last long.
Yeah.
And when we list them, they sell out quickly. They may, if we get a huge set in, maybe a week.
Right.
But it's rare for them to sit around long, and we're doing our best to try to offer more and more of this one. But guys, it's very popular.
Yeah, I love the fact that this is a dwarf oak leaf hydrangea because a lot of the standard oak leaf hydrangeas can get pretty good size. So you don't have to worry about this one kind of overgrowing its space. You're going to get that same kind of traditional big oak leaf style leaf on it, but bright golden colors. I think that kind of helps play into its phenomenal fall color too, just being that bright yellow like that, the way it just transitions from that dynamic color into its fall. I think that just plays into its whole characteristic a lot. I mean, hydrangeas, man, guys, when it comes to Little Honey, I don't think you're going to get much better than that. It's like top of the tier.
All right, guys, coming at number 2 on the Consumer Choice Awards, we've got another newcomer. This is another Japanese forest grass.
Grass. You guys are buying forest grass?
Just go out in the floor. No, it's plain.
I love it, man. This is awesome.
and this coming in number 2, we've got all gold.
The all gold.
And the foliage on this is just bright yellow. So it's one of the brightest yellow forms on that Japanese forest grass. And I was talking earlier about how to use this to contrast with the red. All gold. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, I mean, setting the gold standard, with the Japanese forest grass. Obviously, these are very popular for good reason. I think just adding bright colors to your garden, it's just a fun way to create interest and, play with your eyes and just how the landscape lays in front of your house or in front of a part of your backyard. I'm getting into those aspects, sectioning off different parts of my garden and trying to kind of create little pockets of interest and to kind of draw your eye through the garden. And I think, some Japanese forest grass, one of the cool ways to do it.
Well, I think a lot of us collectors here, we go out and we think about putting as many Japanese maples as we can in our garden as possible. And we have a very beautiful garden of Japanese maples. And that's phenomenal. That's how I think it should be. But then taking something like all gold and then starting to get work into some of these contrasting plants to put around in the garden sort of draws your eye and allows you to forget that while you're walking through the Japanese maple and conifer garden, that it's only Japanese maples and conifers that's the main focus. You start to think that you're entrenched in a wonderland.
Right, yeah.
And that's where it starts to take the garden to the next level. And I think that's what these Japanese forest grasses begin to do. They start to not just we begin to set the stage that you're going into this other world rather than just into a collection of maples and conifers.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're down to our number one, all the way down from 25 to number one on our top 25 rare plants on MrMaple.com. Again, at MrMaple.com, we're known for having one of the largest selections of Japanese maples in the country and one of the largest selections in the world. We mail order ship directly to your door, and you can go to MrMaple.com and shop through our maples, but you can also go to our rare plant section. We've got a great section on hydrangeas, azaleas, and conifers as well. So check out all of our cool plants. We will be going through and doing top 25s on our top 25 dogwoods because we've got one of the best dogwood selections anywhere online. We were going to be doing our top 25 conifers.
Yeah.
We'll be doing our top 75 maples. We try to hit up some really cool and interesting trees and let you know what our consumer choices were each and every year. You can actually go back and check out our other podcasts too to figure out, where things have changed throughout the years for us if you're interested in that.
Yeah, it's really fun to kind of just watch the trends and just kind of watch people's interest shift and change depending on the season and the year. But this one that's at the number one spot on our list today is for good reason.
It almost doubled up number two.
I mean, yeah, it's like we could have put this on there twice. Yeah. I mean, it's an awesome plant, guys. We got Redbud Flamethrower.
Flamethrower selection that was bred and developed at NC State University through Denny Werner, another one of our friends. This is the moonrise of redbuds.
Yeah.
You get the red new growth coming over top of yellow, and it keeps continually putting on new growth with each and every flush. And contrast, so amazing. Sunlight really brings out the colors on this. It's a vigorous tree out there in the landscape. And when this tree is looking its best, June, August, I mean, that's when a lot of trees are looking their worst.
Right, late season, yeah.
And so it's a summer interest plant out there for your garden.
And that's really kind of unusual, too, for a redbud. I mean, if you think about it, because usually that spring interest with the blooms, everybody knows the redbuds. And then usually by late summer, a redbud's kind of forgotten about, in the background somewhere. But this one's still putting on that show. I love that you reminds you of moonrise because that's one of my favorite trees. And for that same reason, just that constant array of color. Every time it pushes out a new leaf, you see that pop of color, and so it just continues to play on just that effect in the garden throughout the season. I love Flamethrower. We had to get one. Francis wanted one for our garden. So definitely want to have my collection for sure.
I know my wife saw them at one of the open houses, and she's like, I want a Carolina Sweetheart for our garden, and I want a Flamethrower. She's like, go ahead and set 2 back for me now. She said, go ahead and set them back and get them. Everyone started potting them up for me so that when we get our house put in,
nice,
those can be in our garden.
Oh, yeah, so, that's awesome.
And, my she's not that much of a gardener. She's in finance.
Right.
She helps out at the open houses. She's not someone who's like, ooh, I have to have that tree.
Right.
And so it's fun to see her when she's like, oh, I've got to have that tree.
Yeah, if it gets her attention, it's a pretty nice tree.
And she doesn't even know that it has the blooms to it in the spring.
Right.
She doesn't even know that aspect, that you get that before the heart-shaped foliage. So once she sees that, she's gonna be all in.
Yeah, I mean, guys, this is an awesome list here. You guys have made it easy on us to talk about some really cool plants today. Oh, man, 25 of your choice plants here, guys. We didn't choose these. You guys did by shopping here at MrMaple.com. So we really appreciate that, man. What a cool variety of plants. I'm sitting here thinking, all these people across the country have these plants in their garden. I want to see some of these pictures, guys. You should go over to our Facebook group, post some of your pictures of our garden. We'd love to see it. I love to share my garden with you guys. So send us some pictures and show us what you're doing with your landscape.
Yeah, as always, go and join the Mr. Maple Friends group on Facebook. Share your photos of your garden. We've got a large community. We call them the Maple Mafia. And they love discussing plants and seeing plants growing in different parts of the country all over. And I'm telling you, with all these numbers I'm seeing of all these rare plants, y'all have got some cool plants in your garden. So I'd love to see how you're using them, how you've incorporated design elements, how the street's is thriving in your zone. That's the type of stuff I love to see. and hear about, do share your photos in the Mr. Maple Friends group on Facebook.
And you know what's cool about this list, guys, is like all of the customer base here has kind of done the research for you. So if you're just looking for a cool list of plants to add to your landscape, I mean, these are tried and true. These are what our customers are buying. These are what are popular. These are what are performing. These are what are, keeping people's interests or coming back again. So this is a great list to start with. If you're just wanting a nice variety of plants that have flowering interest, edible. I mean, we have edible plants on there. I mean, it's got a great feel for just adding this list to your landscape. I think you guys would love it.
Y'all, thanks for joining us today. Stay tuned next week for another Consumer Choice Awards. We're going to be hitting you up with the Consumer Choice Awards like we do at the end of every year.
Yeah.
And hope you enjoy this type of thing because these are your votes. We didn't create these votes. These are votes that you created by your purchases at Mr. Maple. So you can kind of see what's popular right now and what things are going, and gives us an excuse to talk about plants, which is our favorite thing to do here on the Mr. Maple Show podcast.
Hey, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for watching the Mr. Maple Show and the podcast. Take care.
God bless.
Have a great day.